Threats abroad are no longer kept abroad. We have to look at how do things that manifest themselves in other countries affect our hometowns and our main streets. We have to look at our security, national and homeland security, as one continuous spectrum. Homeland security is an inherent piece of national security.
When I heard my police officers reporting on the department radio that a plane had just struck the World Trade Center, I thought it must have been a small private plane. As I was approaching Manhattan, I heard my officers yelling that another plane was coming, and then it struck the second tower. This was no accident.
When the second tower imploded, I was standing on the West Side Highway, about 3 blocks north of the tower. I thought my life was over. I expected the towers to come crashing down in my direction. It was rather peaceful. I knew I was not in control.
I was on my way into the building, walking across the parking lot, when I saw the American airliner jet impact the side of the building, destroying that one whole side.
My personnel reported to staging and entered the Pentagon and fought fire alongside firefighters from Arlington and Fairfax County, the city of Alexandria, and Washington, D.C. for most of the afternoon.
Firefighters saw thousands of people that were in their greatest moment of need, and they ran into the buildings.
I lost many friends and coworkers, which we call brothers. I don't know the exact number in my circle, but it was upwards of 50.
Nothing could be done that would bring back the lives lost that morning or to erase the images from that day and the days and weeks that followed. But for me, even worse than the attacks was the feeling of not being able to do anything, feeling helpless.
Maybe it's survivor's guilt, but I have continued to feel the need to find a way to make something positive out of the tragedy.
In the years leading up to 9/11, Homeland Defense and Security had been a growing concern. A Department of Justice study in 1998 uncovered a gap in graduate-level education for those who would respond to Homeland Defense and Security issues.
So based upon that study, discussions began between the Department of Justice and the Naval Postgraduate School. Because the Naval Postgraduate School had a lot of the resources, such as a National Security Affairs Department, a Computer Science Department, operational research, that would seem to serve a degree in Homeland Security very well. After September 11th attacks, the Department of Justice Naval Postgraduate School says, hey, we have to make this happen. This is going to be a generational endeavor, and we need to start this right away.
The Center for Homeland Defense and Security offers a Master's of Arts degree in Security Studies, as well as programs and courses aimed at top-level decision makers and leaders.
The primary concerns when we started the program was on the ability of primarily state and local governments to prevent terrorism and to respond in an interjurisdictional, interdisciplinary way. That was actually very challenging. Some would say that as a result of the September 11th attacks, there was a lot more attempts to reduce stovepiping of agencies. One of their main educational focuses was to break down those stovepipes, break down those barriers between the different disciplines, between the levels of government, between the private and public sector. And that's what we try and do in the programs that we have here. We try and bring in as much a diverse model of what we think Homeland Security and Homeland Defense looks like in the real world and try and replicate that in the classroom. So all of our classrooms, whether it's the master's program, our executive courses, whether here, West Virginia, or in the Pacific, are all comprised of a wide range of disciplines and senior executives. For example, you might have a Coast Guard admiral sitting next to the adjutant general from a state, sitting next to a public affairs officer from the Pentagon, sitting next to a fire commissioner from Boston, sitting next to the emergency management director for Los Angeles. As diverse a group as we can put together, we believe that that's where the generation of innovative ideas and the debate of policy and strategy really happens. The applications for our master's degree program are fairly rigorous. We are looking for people with experience in a Homeland Security related field or a national security related field. We are looking for those with an academically rigorous background. And we're also looking for how they express their current thinking on Homeland Security and national security related issues from a policy and strategic point of view, not so much from a tactical. In our executive programs, we are looking for the senior folks, the leaders of agencies and organizations across the realm. We're looking for folks from the Navy and the military who maybe are base commanders, responsible for force protection, responsible for the protection of critical infrastructure. We're looking for those in the federal government who are responsible for large federal programs. At the state and local level, we're looking for first responders and their bosses. We're looking for fire commissioners. We're looking for sheriffs. We're looking for public health directors. Again, the idea there is to create as diverse a cohort as possible so that they can learn from each other and the diversity of their views add to the conversation. For our mobile programs, we are looking to talk to governors. We're looking to talk to mayors of large urban areas. We're looking to national associations who bring those people together. In these mobile programs, our people go to their sites, to their locations, to have short, half-day, one-day seminars to discuss the wicked problems of the policy and strategies that they face in their role in national security and homeland security. Our curriculum for Homeland Defense and Security belongs to National Security Affairs Department. So we have many instructors from National Security Affairs Department, as well as other departments on campus.
I'm a professor at the National Security Affairs Department and at the Center for Homeland Defense and Security here at NPS. At NSA, I teach the classes on border security and Mexico politics and government. At the Center for Homeland Defense and Security, I teach innovation and strategic planning, strategic thinking, right? So in both cases, my main role as a professor has to do with teaching or facilitating an experience for our students to enhance their own cognitive capacities to learn about innovation, transformation, and making things happen. For border security class, we explore the challenges of understanding what borders are, what the perimeter means from the point of view of security and defense, from identity, and from geopolitics and geostrategy. This is a very important topic because the United States of America's first line of defense, or last, depending how you think about it, it's situated at the borders, and this is a key homeland security topic. We get a perfect crosscut of the Homeland Security practitioner profile. This includes first responders, police, fire, emergency management, public health, border patrol. Whoever has a role to play in protecting the territory of the United States of America and its institutions and its citizens will be in our classroom, state, federal, local, and tribal. But we also will have members of the military, NORTHCOM in particular, people who will have the responsibility to interact with first responders and law enforcement during a catastrophe here, but also need to understand the challenges of securing the territory of the United States in this intermestic world that we live in which there is a very strong overlap between domestic challenges and international challenges. Homeland security is a moving target. Right? It's a field that is evolving with the threat, and the threat is evolving because the threat is based on many things, and one that I would like to talk about, and that's very important for me, is the fact that Homeland Security is the science of catastrophes. Right? It's a discipline that has been created to deal with crises that go beyond the response capability of normal institutions. Right? Something becomes a Homeland Security issue when it's too big for normal institutions within government to respond to that. That's very different to the perspective that we have of Homeland Security as a counterterrorism idea, etc. But if you think about it, 9/11 as an event showcased exactly that. It's an event that was so big and so important that required resources from many different institutions, and that it had ripple effects that were all over the planet. So I would say that reframing or understanding Homeland Security as a discipline of catastrophe means that the more we understand about the vulnerabilities that are emerging in our society, the more technologically dependent our society is, the more tools are available for adversarial forces against us. Any new technology brings at the same time opportunities for innovators to improve the state of the world and make it better, and for people to do bad things and harm others, right? So we want to make sure that the Homeland Security enterprise is there to preserve our capacity to reinvent the world and make it better, while at the same time be careful to prevent some of the dangerous consequences of these new technologies in the homeland.
The Center for Homeland Defense and Security at the Naval Postgraduate School focuses on empowering decision makers and leaders in responding to emergencies and potential threats.
Everybody who goes through the center feels an incredible bond. They have that kind of shared rigor of the academic work. They have 18 months of interaction with each other, helping each other, getting through some pretty difficult times. and not just through the academic work, obviously, but their professional lives and their personal lives. It's quite a commitment.
The opportunity to work with professionals, not only from around the country, but from a wide variety of disciplines, from those in law enforcement, federal government, state government, those in the legal discipline. There's a collection here of professionals that avail themselves to the topics of discussion in such a way that it really broadens the operational mindset of those who attend, as well as the strategic frame of reference that they have to work with. So it was absolutely beneficial, both for me professionally and for my organization and the community we protect, to come out here and invest time to study in the master's program. Well, St. Louis is a major metropolitan area. Regionally, we have about 3 million people that we protect. This extends well beyond the normal fire and EMS delivery that we give on a daily basis. We assume a lot of command and control responsibilities for the protection of life for major events, festivals, parades, the All-Star Game, World Series, presidential visits, more recent events like Ferguson, Missouri. Those all play into not only our city's security, but the region's security as a whole. And as a lead banner partner, the St. Louis Fire Department has a responsibility to bring forth the most effective measures in providing competent protection to the city and region as a whole.
I think the biggest concern for the city of New Orleans is obviously natural disasters. When we think about Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Rita, and the disasters that both preceded that and came after that, but also vulnerabilities that are prevalent throughout the community, whether it's the Port of New Orleans or even the increasing crime rate. The emergency medical services for the city of New Orleans approached me about possibly becoming their in-house counsel, not only for EMS, but for all the public safety agencies for the city of New Orleans. But to do that, I would need the knowledge base in connection with the national security and emergency preparedness sphere. And I'm really using this opportunity to learn from all of the other public safety professionals in the class about what I need to do to better serve the agencies back in New Orleans.
As we were discussing some similar threads, some similar interests that we have in the public safety sphere, we were both interested in drone policies and how public safety can blend quality, strategic guidelines while balancing the Fourth Amendment right to privacy issues that I think everybody in the country is struggling with to some extent.
What I found very interesting is that so many of these communities actually have laws in place that allow unmanned aerial surveillance use by law enforcement agencies, and these laws simply aren't being put into practice because law enforcement officers or public safety agencies are scared of unfairly or in violation of the Fourth Amendment intruding on citizens' privacy rights. And so what we have done is taken those concerns, taken the operational benefits, and taking the legal framework that's out there and try to create a model policy that we believe works well to both balance the public safety aspect and also balance the privacy concerns.
I think the most interesting thing about this is not only the policy recommendations, but being able to blend my skill set, which is largely strategic and operational, with her firm grasp of the legal issues in play and some of the administrative and governance issues in play. We were able to look at it from two very unique perspectives, bring these two disciplines together, and walk away with something that we believe would both be good for the operators, be good for the community and the public safety at large, as well as pass some legal muster.
I tend to look at things from a purely legal perspective. And in working with one of my colleagues who is in the public safety sphere and the operational aspect of that, I was able to see the concerns and the benefits of using these unmanned aerial surveillance systems from a completely different perspective, taking the legal framework completely out of it and just looking at the benefit that the public could get and how it could enhance public safety, and sort of stepping away from my very myopic view of just technical application of the law and being more flexible in my approach. And looking at how it could actually better help the public if we were more flexible in the law and allowed it to actually work in the way that it was supposed to work.
As you walk through the halls and the offices of the center, you're going to see how many of our alumni, our cohorts, and individuals have placed their mark, placed their stamp on their experiences at the center. You'll see badges, you'll see coins, you'll see flags that have been flown over foreign countries from our military members who have served in those conflicts. you'll see proclamations of appreciation for the experiences that they went through. Everybody who leaves the school, again, whether it's through our program or through others, takes with them an emotional attachment back to wherever they go. And everybody remembers the time that they spent at the Naval Postgraduate School, especially the folks who go through the Center for Homeland Defense and Security. They have an incredible affection for their experience.
Center for Homeland Defense and Security graduates also make the yearly migration to APEX, the Alumni Professional Exchange Continuing Education Workshop. Former students are invited to learn and reflect on critical Homeland Security issues from varying perspectives, visit classmates and faculty, and bring other cohorts into their professional networks. We meet with one former student who details how CHDS and his desire to make a difference led to the improvement of communication systems for disaster recovery.
My name's Chris Kluckhuhn. I'm a reserve commander in the U.S. Coast Guard as an emergency preparedness liaison officer. I also am president and founder of Avwatch, a company I founded right after I graduated. I saw the need inside the Coast Guard that we needed good data links and information services. So we provide full motion video, aerial networks, and basically mobile ad hoc repeating. When I entered the Coast Guard, all I wanted to do was fly helicopters. I think I would still just be a helicopter pilot and loving that mission had it not been for 9/11. That was a pretty severe course change for me. Raced down there like a typical firefighter response to try to save people, and we were unsuccessful. I saw a gap between getting information from people I was trying to support on the ground and getting information to them. I knew with the technology that's available, there's a much better way to share that real-time situational awareness and close that they call it an ISR lag time. It forced me to start learning about data links and situational awareness and how to incorporate that into our day-to-day missions, fusing lookout lists and other information that we'd been printing out on paper and not really looking at because our operations didn't allow for that to work. I learned about this new thing coming out called air cards right before Katrina, and when Katrina happened, we took work that we've been doing on situational awareness. We took 3 air cards and we went down, helped coordinate some of the rescues out of Mobile, Alabama, taking addresses and converting that to coordinates for our air crews, using this new thing called Google Earth at the time to say, hey, the little boy on an apartment building, does that correlate with the address that we just got? When I came into CHDS, I wasn't initially real happy that I had a thesis requirement. I said, no, this is a waste of time. I need to be doing stuff. But doing the research, focusing on how the Coast Guard was managing innovation, it allowed me to study the innovation process, both internal and external to the government. Post 9/11, it was a great environment for it. The Coast Guard was willing to take risks. They were willing to give a junior lieutenant money without much direction and see what I could do. The technology that I ultimately brought into the Coast Guard and into my company, I learned about here through other centers. The Center for Hastily Formed Networks with Brian Steckler and Dr. Alex Bordetsky's Synetics. Basically, through reading some of the research that I was doing and my interactions with them, they helped me understand extending tactical networks into difficult places, things that I had been challenged to do with our hurricane responses, Katrina, Rita. So I learned how to do what I'd been trying to do on the outside better. And part of my thesis research was understanding that the Coast Guard would ultimately adopt some of the cutting-edge technology that's been developed here, but it was probably going to take 5 or 10 years. And I realized that I didn't want to wait 5 or 10 years for it, so I wanted to go learn it and operationalize it and optimize it in as short a time as possible.
Our center tries to make sure that we don't forget that there is no clear separation between Homeland and our national safety and welfare. Our national defense is certainly overseas and outside our borders, but sometimes our enemies bring that home, whether that's through cyber, whether that's through kinetic action. Our homeland defense in our domestic space is connected to our national defense in places across the waters and across our borders. It's all connected. We have to remember that the world operates much more as a network than separated stovepipes and pieces of programs. We bring together those that are traditional military and defense-oriented folks with those who are primarily state and local-oriented, as well as our federal partners in civilian agencies. It's really important that these individuals, these leaders, these emerging leaders, get together, learn how to work together through an academic, research-based environment. In this way, it's not just a matter of having a meeting or a workshop. It's a shared experience, and it's a difficult experience, especially in the master's program. And through that very rigorous experience, incredible relationships are born. I think people learn how to work better in an interagency and intergovernmental environment when they learn how to do it in a classroom environment. So when they go back outside, maybe a fire chief who never would have thought of calling the FBI, a special agent in charge, just to ask a question, now knows that, well, they're people too, and it's okay to reach out. Maybe emergency manager for a military base doesn't have any concern of reaching across to a Customs and Borders person because they realize that through their experiences here that those relationships are so incredibly important, and the missions and objectives, frankly, are the same. It's about the public health, safety, and welfare of the citizens that we're all sworn to protect.